There's still rice in the sink. I don't know why that's the part that's breaking me right now. I just went to rinse out my coffee mug and found rice grains stuck to the drain. Cold, swollen. Probably from last night's dinner. The dinner she made for him. And somehow, that hit me harder than the voicemail. Let me back up. Or actually, let me not. I'm done backing up to explain my wife's actions like she's the protagonist of some misunderstood drama. No, this isn't one of those stories where I defend her. This is the part where I confess I've been a fool, and maybe you'll see something in here that stops you from being one. It started with a laugh. Just one. One wrong laugh. We were at a small get-together, her co-workers. I was the awkward husband, clinging to a plastic cup of flat soda, while they passed around some dumb phone filter app. People were laughing, showing off bunny ears and alien eyes. Then it was her turn. She held up her phone, pointed it at me. "Guys," she giggled. "Look, it finally turned him into a man." Laughter. She turned the screen to show my face with a lumberjack beard and thick eyebrows drawn on. Closest he's ever looked to fixing something. More laughter. I stood there, smiling like a damn idiot, trying to chuckle along. My throat felt tight, but I told myself, it's just a joke. Just a dumb joke. But then she said it. "Let's send it to Derek, he'll die laughing." I didn't know who Derek was yet, but I would, because 2 weeks later, I'd hear his voice. Through the walls. Through our bedroom wall. And that's when everything I thought I knew about Lila, about our home, our jokes, our routines, split open like a rotten floorboard. And I fell through. I've replayed it so many times that the memory feels like a bruise I keep pressing just to see if it still hurts. The night I heard Derek's voice wasn't dramatic. There were no slammed doors, no whispers, no suspicious shadows under a doorframe. It was ordinary, boring even. And maybe that's why it gutted me the way it did, because betrayal delivered quietly feels colder than if they'd screamed it in my face. I was in the kitchen, reheating leftover pasta because she'd texted me. "Working late, don't wait up." That wasn't unusual. Her job always swallowed her hours. I was scrolling through videos on my phone, half listening to the microwave hum, when I heard laughter from upstairs. Not hers. A man's. I froze. Not because I suspected anything, but because she wasn't supposed to be home. I actually smiled at first, thinking maybe she'd taken the night off early and brought someone from work to pick up a folder or whatever. But then he laughed again, louder, deeper, familiar, uncomfortably familiar. And I realized why. It was the same laugh I'd heard at that coworker gathering when someone mentioned Derek, the mysterious guy they all adored. The same Derek she joked with more easily than she ever flirted with me. The same Derek she'd said would die laughing at that stupid joke about turning me into a man. I remember standing there, holding the edge of the counter because suddenly the room felt tilted. I wasn't hearing flirting or talking or anything obvious enough to accuse her of. Just laughter. But it was the kind of laughter that carries comfort, familiarity, the ease that comes from being around someone who sees you the way you want to be seen. I walked halfway up the stairs before common sense, or fear, stopped me. Their voices weren't coming from the bedroom. They were in the living room. I could see the glow from the TV flashing against the hallway. I stepped closer, slow enough that the floor didn't creak beneath me. I shouldn't have listened, but I did. She said, "Stop, Derek, seriously, you're awful." And I heard the sound, soft, unmistakable, of her swatting his arm playfully. It wasn't flirtation exactly, but it was something worse, comfort. Comfort that didn't belong to me anymore. He shot back, "Oh, come on, Lila, don't pretend you don't love it." And she laughed. My wife laughed. The same laugh she used to save only for me in the early years, before everything turned into sarcasm and jokes at my expense. I didn't march in, didn't confront them, didn't even breathe loudly. I crept back down the stairs like a coward, like I didn't want to interrupt the show they were putting on. In the kitchen again, I stared at the microwave still counting down, and all I could think was, how long has this been happening? How long have I been the only one who didn't know the punchline? When she finally came downstairs an hour later, alone, I pretended I had just gotten home. She kissed my cheek absent-mindedly, the way you'd pet a cat while scrolling your phone. I asked how work was. She said, exhausting, without blinking, without stuttering, without any sign that she'd just spent her night laughing with another man in our house. And here's what haunts me the most. I still didn't confront her. I kept quiet, choosing to swallow the suspicion like I've swallowed every joke, every humiliation, every time she's belittled me for sport. It wasn't the laughter that broke me. It was realizing she never laughed like that with me anymore. Not for years. After that night, everything around me started to feel staged. Like my marriage had become some long-running improv show, and I was the clueless guy playing along while the audience, her friends, her co-workers, were all in on the joke. I couldn't unhear that laughter. I couldn't forget the way she said his name like it tasted better than mine ever did. But I still didn't have proof, and I guess some part of me was too scared to find it. So I played my role. I took the trash out. I paid the internet bill. I kissed her forehead in the morning, and every time I heard her phone buzz or saw her smirk while reading a text, it was like a punch in the gut I wasn't allowed to react to. Then came the night that changed everything. We were invited to a housewarming party. One of her co-workers had just moved in with her boyfriend, and Lila insisted we go. I didn't want to. God, I really didn't want to. But she said, "Come on, Everett, don't be weird. Everyone's expecting you." That word, expecting, sounded like a threat. Or a warning. I should have stayed home. But I didn't. The party was loud, crowded, lots of forced laughter and overpriced cheese. Lila disappeared almost immediately into a circle of people I didn't know, and I stood by the drink table, swirling ginger ale like it was whiskey, trying to look like I belonged. That's when someone behind me said, "You must be Everett." I turned around, and there he was, Derek. He was taller than I expected, confident, but not in a loud, chest-pounding way. He had that casual charm that makes people lean in closer without realizing they're doing it. And when he smiled, I recognized it immediately, because I'd seen my wife mirror that same smile too many times lately. "Lila talks about you all the time," he said. I wanted to believe he meant that kindly. I really did. But I could hear something underneath it. Amusement. The kind you get when someone tells a really good inside joke and they know you're the punchline. "She says you're hilarious," he added. Like, unintentionally. And he laughed. I stood there, blinking. I think I smiled. I think I laughed, too. I hate that I did. I hate that even in that moment, I didn't confront him. I didn't throw a drink in his face or demand answers. I just let him mock me to my face, like I was nothing more than a walking meme in their little private comedy show. Later that night, I found Lila out on the patio, laughing again. With him. Not touching, not kissing, but close enough that their shadows overlapped in the string lights. I stood there in the doorway, watching, and for the first time in our entire marriage, I felt truly invisible. It hit me in waves. She didn't just find someone else. She turned me into the entertainment. And the sickest part? She didn't even have to lie. She just laughed, and everyone followed. After the party, something in me snapped, but not in the way you'd think. I didn't confront her, scream, or pack a bag. No, I did what I always do. I shut down. I sat in silence on the ride home, nodding when she said, "Wasn't that fun?" and pretending I didn't notice how she smelled faintly like his cologne, or how her phone never left her hand the entire evening. The next morning, she was in the shower when her phone lit up beside me in bed. I don't usually check her phone, not because I'm noble, but because I've always been terrified of what I might find. But this time I did. I didn't plan it. I just saw the notification banner pop up. It wasn't from Derek. It was from a group chat titled Gag Reels. The message said, "I still can't believe Lila said that in front of him, loudly crying face, loudly crying face." He just stood there like a golden retriever. Something cold settled in my chest. I opened the chat. I know I shouldn't have. I know it's a violation of trust, but that trust was already dead, wasn't it? There were screenshots of me, videos from parties. One was from our anniversary last year, where I was giving a little toast in front of our friends. I thought it was sweet at the time, something intimate and real. They had edited it, added captions. When the side character thinks he's the lead. People had reacted with laughing emojis. Even Derek. But the worst was a voice memo. I pressed play. It was Lila's voice. She was laughing as she said, "I swear, if Everett ever found out about Derek, he'd probably thank me for the lesson in masculinity." That sound, her laugh, burned hotter than anything else. It wasn't just mean. It wasn't careless. It was cruel. Purposefully cruel. I realized then, this wasn't about a one-time slip. This wasn't about her falling out of love. This was a slow, calculated unraveling of respect, of dignity, of me. She didn't just cheat with Derek. She dismantled me in front of an audience. The water stopped running. I panicked and locked the screen. Put the phone back. Pretended I was just waking up. She walked in, towel wrapped around her, humming like nothing in the world could touch her. I watched her, really watched her, and for the first time, I wasn't wondering if she still loved me. I was wondering how long she'd been laughing behind my back, and how much of my life had become a script in her running sitcom. That day, something inside me began to harden. Not anger, not revenge, something quieter. A decision forming, slowly, coldly. If I was the joke, then it was time to write the punchline myself. I didn't say anything that day, not even the next. I acted like everything was fine, maybe better than fine. I complimented her hair. I offered to cook dinner. I even laughed when she made a sarcastic remark about my newfound enthusiasm. She thought she still had control of the narrative. And maybe that's why she got sloppy. Because while she was laughing at me in group chats and flirting in plain sight, I was digging quietly, watching patterns, tracking her location with a subtle app one installed on the shared tablet under the guise of Find My iPhone. She never noticed. She never suspected. She was too busy playing the lead role in a comedy where I was the joke and Derek was the prize. 3 days later, I got my confirmation. Thursday night, she told me she had a late strategy meeting. She even tossed in an eye roll and said, "Ugh, corporate nonsense." Then she kissed me like it was habit and left wearing lipstick she never wears to the office. Her location? Nowhere near downtown. She was in a quiet cul-de-sac in a neighborhood she had no business being in. And as I zoomed in on the map, it landed on an address I recognized. Derek's. My heart didn't pound. It didn't ache. It just settled, like a machine locking into place. I didn't confront her when she got home later that night, all smiles and fake yawns. I didn't ask about the meeting. I just nodded and let her shower, watching the water wash away someone else's touch. Instead, I started building. I backed up every file from her phone using an app she didn't know existed. I saved every chat, every photo, every voice memo from the gag reels thread. I cross-referenced dates from their messages with our calendar. Found times she claimed she was at her mom's or sick in bed. Lies. All of them. Then I emailed myself everything, encrypted and backed up twice. I called my boss and requested time off for personal reasons. He said yes. I think he heard something in my voice. I don't know what. But here's where it got real. I reached out to Mara, Lila's cousin, the one from the birthday party months ago, the one who looked uncomfortable when Lila made that humiliating joke about me. I'd always had a weird feeling about her. Turns out, I was right. Because Mara didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. She told me everything. That the group chat had existed for over a year. That Lila had started it as a joke, but it had morphed into something else. That Derek was never supposed to be serious, but Lila had become obsessed with the attention. Mara said she stayed silent out of loyalty, but she couldn't look me in the eye anymore without guilt clawing at her. She offered to send me screenshots. She offered to testify. Testify. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just betrayal. It was evidence. And if my wife wanted to turn my life into a punchline, I'd show her what happens when the joke turns legal. I didn't sleep much that weekend. Not because I was hurting. That stage had passed. What I felt now was colder, sharper. It was focus, and something that felt dangerously close to satisfaction. Because for once, I wasn't the one reacting. I was planning, and I wasn't planning alone. Mara followed through. She sent screenshots, hundreds. Chat logs between Lila and Derek. Dated. Time-stamped. Some messages were cruel beyond what I imagined. Jokes about my voice. About how I fold my laundry. Even about how I cried once when my father passed away. They mocked everything. But I kept reading. Not to hurt myself. No, I needed all of it. Every screenshot was ammunition. And every face with tears of joy they left behind was now a nail in their own coffin. That Monday, I met with a divorce attorney. Her name was Karen Beck. And from the moment I sat down across from her, she didn't treat me like a broken man. She treated me like a case. A winnable one. Karen went through everything with the efficiency of a surgeon. She nodded as I explained the group chat. She asked about assets. She asked if we had any shared accounts. Property. Passwords. I handed over my hard drive with the backup of all the evidence. She smiled when she saw the folder names. "You've done half my job already," she said. "She's going to regret underestimating you." And she would. But I didn't want to just disappear quietly. No, Lila had made a performance out of ridiculing me. She used my kindness like it was her personal stage. So I was going to give her one final performance. One she'd never forget. It started with dinner. I told her I wanted to reconnect. I even booked a fancy restaurant. She was surprised, maybe even suspicious, but she played along. That night, she wore the red dress I used to love, the one I now knew Derek had complimented in private. I watched her across the table, sipping wine, smiling like nothing was wrong. She thought I was coming around, that I'd finally accepted the dynamic where she was the star and I was the laugh track. Halfway through the meal, I gave her a gift box. She blinked. "What's this?" I smiled. "Open it." Inside was a small photo book, leather-bound, cleanly printed. On the first page, a screenshot from the group chat, captioned, "Golden Retriever Energy Dog Face." Her fingers froze. "What is this?" "Go on," I said softly. "You'll recognize the greatest hits." She flipped the pages. Each one contained a message, a meme, a private joke. Her words, Derek's replies, photos of me she'd ridiculed. It was all there. I watched the blood drain from her face. "You're insane," she whispered. "No," I said, leaning closer, my voice calm. "I'm done being the joke. You had your fun. You had your audience. But now I have mine." I stood up, quietly, left $100 in cash on the table, and then I walked out. I didn't look back. She didn't follow. She couldn't, because the curtains had fallen and the show was over. But the consequences? They were just beginning. The night after the restaurant, Lila didn't come home. Not that I expected her to. I imagined she was with Derek, scrambling to figure out just how much I knew, wondering if she could still twist the narrative. Maybe she thought she could still charm her way out of it, like she always did. But this time, I wasn't giving her a chance. I had spent too long being polite, too long laughing on cue. That version of me had quietly exited the stage. By morning, the paperwork was filed. Karen moved fast. With everything I'd gathered, every screenshot, every message, and Mara's signed statement, it was almost surgical. She petitioned for an at-fault divorce, citing emotional cruelty and humiliation. In our state, that still matters. And in our prenup, which Lila insisted on before we got married, by the way, infidelity and public character defamation trigger some very specific clauses. She would lose the house, her stake in our shared savings, the car in my name that she'd been driving. And the best part? My lawyers suggested we inform her employer. After all, several of the messages, jokes, and images mocking me were created during work hours on a company device. But I didn't stop there. Remember the photo book? I had more copies made. One was delivered anonymously to her HR department, another to her mother, a third left casually on Derek's car windshield. He worked out at the same gym every Tuesday and Thursday. I knew that because Lila had mentioned it in one of their messages, right before mocking me for still folding her gym leggings like a housewife. She wanted to turn me into a joke, so I gave her the punchline. The fallout hit like a controlled detonation. It didn't explode. It spread. Her office called her in. HR had questions. Her mother blocked her number. Derek? Gone. Ghosted her within 48 hours. Apparently, being exposed for sleeping with a married woman while helping mock her husband wasn't exactly the image he wanted floating around LinkedIn. And me? I stayed silent. No grand confrontation. No revenge speech. Just distance. Lila tried calling. I ignored it. She sent texts, first angry, then apologetic, then desperate. I didn't respond. Because when someone spends years turning you into a performance, the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to play your part anymore. She finally came to the house, or what used to be our house. She stood on the porch, pounding on the door like someone trying to wake a corpse. I watched through the peephole for a moment, just enough to see her face, red-eyed, frantic, humiliated. Then I walked away. Let her knock. Let her wonder. Let her feel what it's like to be unheard. 2 weeks passed. I didn't answer the door. I didn't respond to the texts. I didn't need to. The silence did more than words ever could. And somewhere deep down, I think Lila finally understood that. She stopped showing up. The paperwork went through faster than I expected. Clean break. No drawn-out court drama. No attempts from her to negotiate. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was pride. Or maybe she just saw what I'd become without her jokes weighing me down. Free. In the quiet that followed, something strange happened. I started laughing again. Not the strained kind of laughter I used to fake at dinner parties, or the hollow chuckles I gave when she made me the punchline. Real laughter. The kind that sneaks up on you when you're not trying to prove anything to anyone. I reconnected with people I hadn't talked to in years. Old friends I'd pushed aside to keep her happy. I picked up hobbies I had abandoned. Woodworking, photography, hiking, things she used to roll her eyes at and call dad energy. Even though we never had kids, I started waking up early, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. For the first time in years, my life felt like mine. And then, one day, something completely unexpected happened. I ran into Mara at a local cafe. She was sitting alone, reading, wearing the kind of soft expression I'd never noticed before when she was surrounded by Lila's loud energy. We talked for hours. And no, before you jump to conclusions, there was no dramatic kiss or sudden love story. Just two people, bruised in different ways, finding comfort in honesty, in being seen, in knowing the worst part of the story was finally behind them. Weeks turned into months. The group chat stopped existing. Lila's friends stopped laughing. Derek was old news. And me? I stopped being the joke. I became the guy who walked away, quietly, with his dignity intact and his future wide open. Because some jokes really do go too far. But when the laughter fades, all that's left is truth. And the truth is, I'm okay now. Actually, I'm better than okay. I'm finally free.